I wasn't even supposed to be on that flight. It was one of those last-minute deals, a late-night call, a job interview in LA, and no time to plan. I booked the cheapest ticket I could find, packed my things in under 20 minutes, and sprinted through the airport like a madman. I barely made it before the gate closed. And I swear to you, everything seemed normal until I got to my seat. Now, I'm a black man in my late 20s, nothing unusual about that, and I've taken enough flights to know that most people just want peace and a nap. But when I walked down that narrow aisle, ticket in hand, I saw her. Her? She had that look, the one that screamed trouble. Blonde bob, oversized sunglasses even though we were indoors, and a tight-lipped scowl like someone had just told her Starbucks ran out of oat milk. Seat 14C. Aisle. Mine. She was already sitting there, legs crossed, purse on a tray, table like it was a throne. I smiled politely, even nodded. "Excuse me," I said, gesturing to the seat. "I think you're in my spot." She didn't move, didn't blink. "You must be mistaken," she said sharply, in that nasally tone. "You know the one. I always sit aisle. I need quick access. Medical reasons." I glanced down at my boarding pass, then up at the row number again. "No mistake. 14C, I said. "That's me." And I kid you not, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Well, maybe you can switch with someone in the back. I'm sure you'd be more comfortable there." I froze. My mind tried to process what she had just implied. More comfortable. In the back. Not because of turbulence. Not because of noise. But because she couldn't stand the thought of sitting next to me. There were other passengers watching now, murmurs stirring like ripples in a pond. An older couple glanced over the tops of their magazines. A young woman stopped mid-scroll on her phone. But Karen, she just doubled down. "I'm sure he could find another seat," she said louder, waving toward the rear like I was baggage. "Maybe a coach. Now I could have exploded. I could have yelled, made a scene, and honestly, every bone in my body wanted to. But I kept my voice steady. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this is my assigned seat. You're going to have to move." She folded her arms. "No, I'm not moving." And that's when the flight attendant arrived. She was a petite woman, mid-40s, neat bun, clipboard in hand. She looked at both of us like a school principal breaking up a playground fight. "Is there a problem?" she asked. Karen launched into a performance worthy of an Oscar. "This man is harassing me," she shrieked, loud enough for half the plane to hear. "He's aggressive. He's threatening me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Me, the one calmly asking for my seat, was now being labeled a threat. But the worst part? The flight attendant actually hesitated. She looked at me like she was sizing me up, calculating risk. My jaw clenched. My fists balled up. I hadn't done a damn thing wrong, and yet somehow I was the problem. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, a man stood up from a few rows behind. Big guy, tall, gray hair, pilot's uniform. He stepped forward slowly, calmly, the way you'd expect someone to defuse a bomb. He nodded to the flight attendant and said, "I'll handle this." Karen's face lit up like Christmas. Oh, thank God. Finally, someone in charge. The pilot turned to her. And then, without breaking eye contact, he said something that made the entire plane go silent. But I'll tell you what he said. The pilot looked Karen straight in the eye. No smile. No pleasantries. Just calm, piercing authority. "I need to speak with you privately," he said. Karen blinked, clearly confused. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," the pilot repeated, voice low but firm. "Please gather your belongings and step into the jet bridge." You could feel the energy on the plane shift. Passengers sat up straighter. Phones discreetly tilted into video mode. Even the flight attendant backed up a step, eyes darting between them. Karen scoffed like the idea was offensive. "Why should I be the one to move?" she snapped. "He's the one causing trouble." She pointed at me like I was a criminal. The pilot didn't flinch. "Ma'am, right now I'm asking you nicely. But if you refuse, I'll be forced to call security and remove you from the flight." Now that got her attention. She huffed and puffed, lips twitching like she was about to explode, but something in his tone must have hit different. She grabbed her massive purse, nearly knocking over her overpriced coffee, and stomped off the plane with the pilot following behind. And just like that, silence. People whispered. Heads turned toward me. A few even gave me those, "Wow, sorry you had to deal with that" looks, but no one said anything out loud. The flight attendant cleared her throat awkwardly and said, "You may take your seat now, sir." I did. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tense, like something was off. I buckled my seatbelt, but my mind was racing. Why take her outside? Why not just boot her right away? What was he going to say to her? The minutes ticked by. 5, 10. Still no sign of the pilot. Just as people started murmuring again, you know how it gets when a flight's delayed, the jet bridge door opened. Karen walked back in, smiling, smiling. She walked like she owned the plane, like nothing had happened. And to everyone's shock, she didn't go back to seat 14C. She walked to first class. The flight attendant helped her put her bag away. No words, no explanation. My jaw tightened. What just happened? The whispers started again. Some passengers looked just as confused as I felt. A guy across the aisle leaned over and whispered, "Did they just upgrade her?" I didn't answer. I just stared. It didn't make sense. After the way she acted, the racism, the lies, the accusations, they reward her? But it wasn't over. About 30 seconds later, the pilot re-entered the plane and walked straight past me like I didn't exist. No eye contact. Nothing. The engines roared to life. The cabin lights dimmed, and we took off like everything was normal. Except it wasn't. Because somewhere between cruising altitude and my rising blood pressure, I started to feel like something way bigger was happening than just a sea dispute. I mean, who gets into that kind of confrontation and ends up in first class? What did the pilot say to her? Why did he let her stay? I reached for the call button. The flight attendant arrived in seconds. "Yes. Can I ask, why is she still on this flight?" I asked. Why did she get upgraded? She glanced toward the front of the plane, then back at me, and suddenly her voice dropped. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm not allowed to discuss that. Not allowed. It's a matter of internal protocol." Internal protocol? That's when I knew something was wrong. Because, trust me, I've flown enough times to know airlines don't protect racists unless there's something deeper involved. Something I wasn't seeing yet. But I'd find out. Because less than 30 minutes later, that same woman, Karen, would scream loud enough to stop the entire plane midair. And this time, she wasn't accusing me of anything. She was begging for help. What happened? We were somewhere over Colorado when it happened. The plane was quiet. People were half asleep, earbuds in, window shades drawn. I had finally managed to calm down, sipping a warm ginger ale while trying to lose myself in a podcast. And then we heard it. A scream. Not a startled yelp. Not a clumsy fall or a child whining. This was a full-throated, blood-chilling scream. The kind that makes your spine stiffen and your heart freeze in place. Heads whipped around. Passengers tore off headphones. Flight attendants sprinted down the aisle. It came from first class. From her. Karen. She was standing, nose staggering, in the aisle, hands shaking, eyes wide like she'd seen a ghost. Her skin was pale, lips trembling. "I need help," she shouted. "He's watching me." Everyone turned toward her, confused. There was no one near her. The businessman next to her was snoring. The woman across the aisle had her eyes wide, but clearly hadn't done anything. The flight attendants tried to calm her down, but Karen wasn't listening. "He said I'd regret it," she kept screaming. "He said I wouldn't get away with it." I stood up slowly, heart pounding. "Who?" the flight attendant asked, hands out like she was handling a mental breakdown. "Who said that, ma'am?" Karen pointed. Not at a person. At a nothing. Just there. "There!" she shrieked. "Right there." He was standing right there. The flight attendant looked at the empty space and said gently, "Ma'am, there's no one there." Karen started crying. "I swear to God, he was standing there," she said. "The man from before. The one I tried to." Ah. She caught herself. Tried to what? Lie about? Get kicked off? Racially profile? Whatever she was about to admit, she swallowed it fast. The pilot was summoned again. He appeared at the curtain between cabins, took one look at her, and signaled something silently to the lead flight attendant. A short nod. That was it. Karen was trembling now, arms crossed tightly like she was cold. "I don't feel safe," she mumbled. I need to sit somewhere else. But there are no other seats in first class, and no one in coach was about to give up theirs for her. The pilot leaned in and said, "Ma'am, unless there's a medical emergency, I need you to return to your seat." Karen sat, still shaking, still muttering. I could hear her from where I was sitting, even with the cabin noise. He said he was going to ruin me, that people like me always get away with it, but not this time. What was she talking about? I don't know if she was hallucinating, or if something real was happening to her. But either way, the vibe on that plane flipped. People stopped whispering about me. They started whispering about her. She barely moved the rest of the flight. Every now and then, she'd snap her head to the side like she heard a voice, or glance behind her like someone was following. But there was nothing there, just her demons. And somehow, it wasn't over. Because when we finally landed at LAX, people practically rushed off the plane like it was on fire. I waited near the baggage claim, still feeling like I was stuck in a bad dream. Then I saw her, Karen, still looking over her shoulder, still clutching that ridiculous purse like it held the last ounce of her sanity. And then she locked eyes with me, dead in the center of the terminal. For just 1 second, her mouth twitched, not with anger, but with fear. And what she said next made no sense at all, not to me, not to anyone watching. "I know what you did," she said. "I know you told him. I saw you." I took a step back. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She looked around like someone was listening, then leaned in just enough to whisper. "It wasn't supposed to be on this flight. He's supposed to be gone, but now he's back." Then she walked away, fast, like she couldn't get away from me, or whatever she thought she saw, fast enough. I thought that would be the end of it. But I was wrong, because the next morning, I woke up to a knock on my hotel door, and standing outside was an FBI agent. I opened the hotel room door in my boxers, barely awake, toothbrush still in my mouth. The man standing there held up a badge. "Agent Lucas Green, FBI." I froze. He looked past me into the room. "Can I come in?" Now, I don't know if it was the badge, the serious tone, or the fact that he didn't look like someone you say no to, but I stepped aside and nodded. He didn't waste time. "I want to ask you a few questions about a woman you were on a flight with yesterday," he said. "Name, Susan Margaret Keller." I blinked. "Who?" He showed me a picture. Karen. That was her real name. Susan Keller? Agent Green watched my face like a lie detector. "You recognize her?" "Yeah," I said. "She caused a scene on the flight. Screamed something about me threatening her. Then flipped out midair." The agent nodded like he expected that. "And what exactly did she say to you after landing?" I hesitated. "She told me something weird. Said she knew what I did. Then I told him something. But I didn't tell anyone anything." "Did she say who she meant by him?" "No," I replied. She was panicked, almost paranoid. Agent Green sighed and closed his notebook. Then he dropped the bomb. "She's under federal investigation. And she's missing." I sat down. "Missing?" I asked. "She never made it to her rental car. Her phone pinged near a hotel downtown, then went dark. Surveillance shows her entering the lobby. But she never came out. Not by foot, not in a car. Nothing." I stared at him. "You think I had something to do with that?" "No," he said. "Actually, the opposite." I frowned. "What does that mean?" He sat across from me. "She was being watched, Mr. Price. Not just for public disturbances or racism. She was under suspicion for being involved in laundering money for a high-profile hate group, one connected to missing persons cases. Violent ones." I blinked hard. "She's a racist influencer," he continued. "Been going viral under a fake name on niche forums. Airline incident fits her pattern. Provoke someone, play victim, gain sympathy, spread propaganda." It all hit me at once. The camera, the crying, the deliberate escalation. She was recording the whole thing from the beginning, trying to frame me for something. "I think you threw off her plan," Agent Green said. "She panicked. Her behavior on the plane, the hallucinations, that wasn't scripted. That was fear." "But fear of what?" I asked. He looked at me for a long time, then pulled a small tablet out of his coat and tapped it. He turned the screen to face me. It was a paused security video. A hotel elevator. Time stamped 11:23 p.m., the night of the flight. Karen stood inside. Next to her was a man in a gray hoodie, head down. "You recognize him?" Green asked. I leaned closer. The man raised his head just slightly, just enough to catch a faint glimpse of his face. My blood ran cold. It was the pilot. Wait, he what? He left the airport and followed her. Green nodded slowly. "That's what we're trying to figure out. But I thought he was just doing his job," I said. "He let her stay on the plane. He upgraded her." Agent Green's eyes narrowed. "Exactly." The silence between us was thick. "You're not in trouble," he added. "But I'd recommend you don't leave town. Not until we know exactly what happened to Susan Keller." He stood up and walked to the door. "Oh, and one more thing. Yeah, that pilot, he said hand on the handle. According to the airline, he never flew that flight. Door shut. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling. If he never flew that plane, who the hell was flying it? And what exactly did Karen or Susan Keller see at 30,000 feet? The answer